Roll at the bottom.
Auburn family, we are here. War Eagle, the War Rapport live. Make sure you are doing all the normal things. Clicking like and subscribe on the YouTube and hitting the notification bell. You never know when we get to just pop up and talk about things randomly that are not scheduled, i.e. today. Twitter and Instagram, we are the War Rapport. On TikTok, TW Rapport. Let's not belabor all of this stuff though, man. You see what's scrolling across the bottom of the screen. And if you are an Auburn fan, then you likely already know what's going on. Gus Malzahn has been fired as the head coach of Auburn, and let's talk about it. We've been hinting around about this for probably about a week, maybe a little bit more. Probably about 2 or 3 weeks we've been talking about the state of the program. But let's jump in here. B Will jumping in live on the stream as well. B Will, what's up, man? I know. Look, you can't contain it. He can't. Let me start. Let me start by saying this before I B Will. I'm gonna let you get your rocks off here, B. I want to say thank you for the time Gus Malzahn was here at the school. He took us to a national championship, took us to play for an SEC championship, and he has been over 500 his entire career at Auburn, right? So he was not a terrible coach,
No, no.
but he was being paid like a top 10 coach and not producing a top 10 program. He was recruiting a top 20 program, but not producing a top 20 program on the field. That to me puts a bow on why he is no longer the coach right now, and the trajectory of the program is leaning in the direction where that didn't look like it was improving. So, though it seems hasty, and none of us on this show thought that this was going to happen after the Mississippi State game, especially considering we pulled out the victory, but here we are. So we're here to talk about it. I'm gonna let B Will get his look. You talk. You know what I'm saying? Let's know because you are definitely the person who has been driving this narrative for the longest and the most gleefully driving this narrative. So I'm gonna let you talk for a second.
Okay. First off, can y'all hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay, I need to check my audio very well. Okay, so it's very important that I am not excited that that man is out of a job. He has been
Listen,
compensated.
he's making a lot of money to not have a job, though. Let's be
He
clear.
has been
Right, right.
compensated very well to not only perform the job, but also to no longer perform the job. The money he has gotten paid as a coach and now in a buyout is enough for him to be a millionaire if he never worked again a day in his life. All right. We don't have to celebrate the man losing his job. We can celebrate an opportunity for a better coach to take that job. All right. That is what I'm excited about. I have no ill will towards Gus Malzahn. Nobody on this panel does because we are smart, decent human beings. We don't celebrate people getting hurt. I'm sure it at the very least is a professional scar to Gus because he was invested. He was here. He invested a lot in the program personally, even monetarily with the facility that was going up. I wish him the best, and I wish him success. Hopefully, he can find that somewhere. Now, gentlemen, audience, people, when we renewed Gus Malzahn after he beat Georgia and then Alabama in 2017, not only did he get a brand new contract, he got a 5-year contract for 18, 19, 20, 21, and 22. Check me on that later, but I think that's what happened. Gus Malzahn beat Alabama one time, and that is the most significant win he has had in the last 3 years since he was renewed. We bought an Iron Bowl victory. We paid a 5-year contract for one Iron Bowl victory. We have not been getting our money's worth as an institution, as fans paying for the tickets and paraphernalia and gear. We have not been getting our money's worth. We've had a lot of hope. We've had a lot of encouragement at times. We have not been getting our money's worth. The offensive players who have been coming here have been getting their time wasted, perhaps on some level to what we've discussed before and even last night. Their career trajectory has been negatively affected from mismanagement, from poor coaching, This was necessary. We 7 years, 8 years, count 8, give him the first year. The time he has spent here is plenty of enough time to know what you've got. This perpetual, oh well, maybe next year that Gus kind of did this year after we lost to A&M, and that he does in other years when we have mediocre seasons. That's not acceptable. And to Ike's point, not for what you're getting paid. If we're paying
Right.
you $2 million a year, cool. You can have maybe next year. That's fine. If you're getting paid, first time head coach money, then you got some time. You can take some lumps. We'll be here. We'll grow with you. When you are getting paid what Gus Malzahn is getting paid, it wasn't acceptable. I am excited for the changeover. I guess let's get to options and who we want and why later. I don't want to do that. I want to give everybody else some time to react as well. But yes, I'm excited. I'm excited about the prospect. I'm glad that they did not wait until early signing day. Don't have these kids sign on and then switch it up on them. Let them know what they're walking into, because it might be a rough year or two if we change coaches to somebody that's not popular or to somebody who wants to completely tear it down. New style of offense, new style of defense, all that. Let them know what they're coming into. By that, I mean the football recruits. Give them the time to absorb it, accept it. The kids who are about to sign next week, they don't have to sign next week. They can sign in February. We can re-recruit those guys with a new coaching staff and new recruiters, and we can sell them on coming and fully understanding what they're getting into. This was the best move for those recruits. Go ahead.
Now I was going to let Caesar hop in here and talk about the timing aspect of this. National Signing Day is coming up this Wednesday. Do you feel as if this was the best time to make this move? What do you feel about? Well, I'll get your just kind of initial reaction, and then just tell me how you feel about the timing of it.
Okay. I do want to thank Malzahn for the positives that he did for Auburn, for the good things that he did. I think he had more victories against Alabama than any other current coach in the SEC.
Correct.
In year one, it was a fun ride. One of the more memorable Iron Bowls, the kick six, the prayer and Jordan Hare. That was under his watch. An amazing season. We went to the national championship. Actually, Mike G and I went to the national championship game. And it was a fun ride until the final 13 seconds. But that was year one. And it made us wonder, man, if this was year one, what can we expect in the future from Gus Malzahn? And the unfortunate reality of it is we only had one other somewhat good year where we showed up in the SEC championship game in a rematch against Georgia and we got throttled. And that was the first game after Gus Malzahn agreed to this contract that you guys were referring to. So I'm grateful for some of the positive things, but it turned out to be fool's gold because consistently for 7 years since then, we had 4 more losses. And in our conference, in our division, when you finish a season with 4 losses, you're not getting to a playoff. You're not able to contend for a conference championship. That's not going to get the job done. It's just not. And again, to Ike's point, to Brian's point, for what you're paying this man, you're paying this guy. And again, I think Auburn fans are reasonable. Auburn fans aren't expecting to beat Alabama and Georgia every year. Auburn fans aren't expecting to get to the playoffs every year. But what we're definitely not expecting is to lose 4 more games every year for what we're paying you. That's not what we want. We should expect to break through with the talent level we've been recruiting, with some of the coaches that we have on staff. We expect better than what we've been getting. To Brian's point, we haven't gotten a return on our investment. And for that, I'm excited about the change. I hope that we have a good plan in place. I hope the plan wasn't just firing Gus and now saying what next. I hope we're already into the next phase of what the plan is, which we will talk about as a group later on. But I do want to wish Malzahn well, but I think I speak for a lot of the Auburn family when I say I am optimistic for the change that will come. And I'm hoping and trusting that those who are pulling the trigger, that they know what they're doing, and that they're in contact with competent coaches, people who have a track record, not for just winning games, but for people who have a track record for building programs. We need a program builder. I don't want a hot shot coordinator, a person with a gimmicky offense or defense. So I want a program builder. And I'm excited about what the future may hold there. As to your question about the timing of it, this was the time to do it. It was a time to do it because at the same time, you want to, as a program, I mean, guys, we all were students at Auburn at one point. We love Auburn. And one of the things that we care about is we believe this is a top program. And we wanted to be that, ran by top people, top administrators, those in power being top people. We live by what we call the Auburn Creed. I think it is shady to wait and promise these kids a future that we know is not there. And I think that we owe it, if we're really going to do it the right way, cut ties with Malzahn and allow another coaching staff to come in. And again, this is a part of your plan. I already have someone lined up that you've been in contact with, talking to, and get them in as soon as possible so that we can begin pitching the new vision of Auburn to these recruits. And so I think the timing was, I think it was best that we did this now because it gives you, again, we don't know who else is going to be firing their coaches. Mm-hmm. So what you don't want to do is wait and put yourself behind the 8 ball. If you know you're going to move on from Gus, do it now. Go ahead and position yourself to get the guy you want and move forward with your program. So that's all I got.
Cool. Mike, I'm going to get you in here to react, and I actually want to give you the first bite at the apple as we transition into the conversation about who is going to be the guy that we replace Gus Malzahn with. So I'll let you give your first reaction, and then we'll just go straight into talking about where do we go from here.
There are over 6,000 languages in the world. But you guys have chosen to speak facts. So I have not a lot to add to what was just said. Thank you, Gus, for some memorable moments, over the last, 7 years, right? Like,
and let me just say, I do see you guys' comments. We're going to get to your comments here in just a moment because you guys have some really good ones. So I'm going to talk about those in a second. So don't go anywhere. We'll be to your comments in just a minute.
To Caesar's point, we took our fellas trip out to that national championship in 2014. It was up until the last 13 seconds, it was a very good season. It brought a lot of excitement back to Auburn football. Pretty much what this boils down to is the non-development of the players in the system for me, right? And I think that his 6-4 comment to the media.
Oh, that sunk him. That 100% sunk him.
I think that really did him in because if you're watching this product on the field and then your coach that you're paying he's the 7th highest paid coach in college football says something like that, it is not a good thing, right? And so he makes that comment, and any comment that you have to clarify is a bad comment. Let's just put it that way.
Facts.
Yeah, any comment that you have to clarify is not effective communication. So he didn't effectively communicate that. A lot of fans were frustrated with that. And I've seen a lot of people come on and say, hey, I'm not sure if I agree with you. Some people think that we're very negative around the program. And I'm like, listen, the passion that we have as fans is why Gus can make $7 million a year. Without our interest, right? He's not making the kind of coin he's making coaching football, right? So we have a right to demand a better product than what we were seeing. I'll end this segment with just saying, I thought it was clear last year after Gatewood left and after I saw how they were managing the quarterback situation that Gus was tying his future at Auburn to Bo Nix's ability to be able to develop into a championship level quarterback. Now 2020 hindsight is 2020. Now we can see That didn't happen. It just didn't happen. And we can go back and forth on the merits about why it didn't happen, but it didn't happen. And it's the coach, the head coach, and an offensive coach. You are the most responsible for why this kid was so highly touted. And he didn't do Bo any favors with some of the comments that he made over the last year. He's going to win a championship before he leaves here, and they treated him like he was the next coming. The Heisman talk, all this stuff. They hyped him up, and at the end of the day, you didn't produce that thing that you were hyping, right? And I think that sat not great with a lot of the boosters with the board, and in a year where other teams around us got better. And I think pulling the plug here is right now at this moment is about stopping the bleeding before they get too far ahead of us. Brian doesn't like Jimbo, but listen, man, you can't argue with what Jimbo's doing. Every year they have steadily gotten better since they fired Sutherland, right? And God forbid he gets his hands on a decent quarterback, right?
Right.
They're going to be scary. LSU, same thing. Last night, what I saw they went out and shocked the world last night, and I felt very strongly. I'm on record as saying that I thought that this game would be more competitive than a lot of people thought because the talent cupboards aren't bare at LSU. They're just young, right? And I think Orgeron made a good case for why their fan base should just be patient with him in light of all that they lost.
Right.
Right. Ike, you had a good stat about, they lost like the second most talent to the NFL of any championship team ever. Right. In the history of college football. And what we've been seeing at Auburn is not only have we been failing because, our curse is that we play in a division with Alabama, right? And they have a developed process that Saban has been just churning out championships and on every level, SEC West, SEC, national championships, 2007 or 8, whenever he got there. And that is, it's trying to keep up with that machine with LSU and Texas A&M and all these other schools, just in our division alone. It was just very frustrating to watch this season, us take a step back. And I'll keep saying this until everybody gets it. If in our league, if you are standing still, you are moving backwards because everybody else around you in the top half of our conference is making progress. We argue.
I mean, from top to bottom, I would argue that the entire conference is making progress. With the hire of Lane Kiffin, with the hire, like some of the hires that we've seen have shown a dedication by some of these programs to say we're not going to be bottom dwellers in the SEC West for the remainder of perpetuity.
So arguably, we are in the bottom half of the conference now, right? And I think that's what a lot of people saw. Like we are no longer even in that 6th spot. Even teams with worse records are making progress, right? So like, whereas they may have had a rough season, their trajectory is upwards, and ours seems to not be going that direction. So I'll couple with the comments from Malzahn and even Bo's attitude in his post-game pressers, right? I think that it really mirrored what Malzahn's attitude has been about this team. It was very, very overly cocky for no reason, right? He just wasn't as humble.
Well, it wasn't even cocky. It was just unbothered. Like there was at no point in time where you were like, "This is unacceptable," and we're going to get this right. It was pretty much like, "No, we'll be good," and it's like, "No, we're not going to be okay. This is not good. The house is on fire, and you're playing Nero here, fiddling." It's like, dude, what are we doing here? This is bad.
Right, because there was no consequence for Bo.
Right. At all. I didn't want him to go out and say, I suck and we're terrible. And like, that's not what I was expecting. Right. But, I thought the coach speak could have been a little bit better. And I thought that his attitude was reflective of the leadership that he was getting. Right. And then the product.
The Iron Bowl comment about Mac Jones.
Yeah. It just was not a smart thing to say, but I thought it was very, very representative of his attitude going in, and I thought that attitude was unwarranted based on what we're seeing them produce on the field, right? So, the Seth Williams blow up with Bo Nix, I thought that was a significant indicator of where this program was at, and they'll play this close to the vest, but this is just my theory. I think that I think Gus, in some ways, was starting to lose this team, especially on the offensive side of the ball. because these guys with talent like Schwartz and Seth Williams that are just not getting opportunities because of the mismanagement. That's not lost on the players. I mean, he's a pretty popular players coach, but at some point these kids just want to win and they want to play, right? And as fans, that's what they came to Auburn to do. And as fans, we want to see them win and we want to see the best guy out there. And I think that there is a prevailing idea that we are consistently not putting the best guy out there, right, to help us win. And even if we do have the best guy, we are probably mismanaging him in some way that's not allowing him to realize his potential. So I'll just end by saying that this was. I'm glad that they were able to pull the trigger, right, this season, and let's not let us go another year in this. You know, I said it last night.
To B. Will's point, we don't want to waste a guy like Tank Bigsby.
No, man. You know, and I said it last night. I said that I think that 8 seasons was enough to know that this was not going the right direction. And very few coaches in our league get that kind of role. Yeah, like very few coaches get to be average for 8 years and keep your job. So let's be
paid like a top 10 coach. Like that's the kicker.
Yeah, so let's not pretend like after we beat Bama and Georgia in the same season, right, in 2017, you know, I think there was a feeling around the program that the trajectory was finally upwards, right? And we found out.
I did not feel that way.
Very next year, I think the people who gave him the contract extension felt that.
Oh, yeah, they did.
Right.
And those guys were out the very next season themselves. So
Right. And then look where we landed up. So this was time. We're ready to move forward. I wish Gus well. Now, my heart doesn't break for him, you know, in terms of, you know, what he's getting paid.
He's being compensated well to sit on the sidelines somewhere.
I hope I pray no one ever gets fired, but if we ever get fired from our job, I pray you get fired the way Malzahn does.
Yeah, man. Listen, I don't. But being a fired college football coach is one of the best things that can happen to you, right? Like in most.
As long as you got contract left, then it's good.
Yeah, you're good.
Let's get again. I promised I was going to let Mike start down the road of like who we want to be or where we want the program to go from this. But let's go to some of the comments because a lot of comments having to do with this. I want to start from very early on. Someone said Urban Meyer as the possible new coach.
No.
We'll react to it in just a minute. Bumpin' the old man said finally. We have a Kevin Sumlin vote. I think this guy said Kevin Sumlin last night when we were talking.
Go ahead, B. Go ahead. Get it out.
Hugh Freeze is on there. My man Brian, who is a consistent contributor to comments in here, said, "Thank God it's happening." You know, Christmas coming early.
Merry Christmas,
Dennis
Brian.
excited about this.
Yes, sir.
We're about to answer this question in just a moment, Michael. But yeah,
Hey,
who you hired, that's going to be something we're going to talk.
One last time, because I thought this was going to live longer. I just want, if you listening, cut the check in the comments because Auburn did it. Cut the check.
Cut the check, baby.
Michael Hicks, our guy Mike, said he's excited and nervous at the same time. It's definitely one of those tenuous situations. Christmas again early for us, says Eugene. Eugene is a faithful Bama fan that comes in here and gives us all of his opinions about how much we suck. Brent Venables, Hugh Freeze, or Joe Brady coming from Davis. Napier, this is the first one that I've seen about him. And then Hugh Freeze. Davis seems to think that is a nonsensical thought because he doesn't want to have Napier. This was in reference to your comment, B. Will, about the contract, 7 years, $49 million. Okay. Cameron says that I think he's a good guy, but this is the factual. So like we talk about the miraculous kick six and the prayer at Jordan Hare happening, the two pretty much botched calls this year from the Arkansas game as well as the Ole Miss game. Like he's gotten away with a lot of stuff where it's like it could easily have gone in the other direction for him a whole bunch of years. So it wasn't dominance on the field that allowed him to get
even his first year.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The kick six, prayer Jordan Hare, like those things were like he's had a ton of luck, honestly. It hasn't just been us going out and dominating teams for the most part. The 2017 probably is the exception to that, where we actually physically went out there and beat Georgia and Bama, both of those games. Definitely has been a fun ride with Gus. He's given us some high moments. Just checking in, just heard the news. Appreciate you coming back in. And once again, Ant, Knew it was coming, but still feels bittersweet. Definitely feel that. Gus won with Chiswick's players. So basically, he was able to do things with guys that were recruited by someone else. I'm not going to argue with that. A lot of the Muschamp stuff, was there early, and that was a carryover for our defense as well. So, we got to give respect to Muschamp for helping do that. Doing it now, giving the recruits time to change their mind, definitely what we talked about. So, and this is a true statement. It's not easy to recruit in the SEC. Who is going to be the guy that can come in here and do that? I think we have some suggestions about guys that might be good for that. Let's see what we got here.
Goldest championship. Yeah. That's what those kids want to hear.
How do you even say that after you make the comment though that 6-4 is a decent season though? Like,
Yeah,
how
he's
do you
not
convince
good.
a recruit? And I'm positive that a lot of these guys that hit the transfer portal, they did some sort of exit interview with them, and they pointed to, I don't feel like Gus is managing the program properly, and that's why we're starting to see those recruits leave. And you have to make, as Alan Green, you have to make the pull the trigger at some point. And you're like, man, we're losing guys quickly, and everybody who's leaving is saying Gus isn't it.
I was hearing, I was hearing people say that Gus Malzahn was going to be able to improve the recruiting class for the early signing period. I didn't see it. I saw
I didn't see it all.
I saw a bloodbath coming.
Right.
We don't know how many different pots Auburn has their hand in. That's the thing. We don't really know that. So I mean, listen, he could have pulled the rabbit out of the hat for the
Art Riles?
No. Ooh.
Nah, he's too damaged.
Yeah, I don't know if I would go that route.
I mean,
he's
he's more damaged than Hugh Freeze.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the sexual.
Yeah.
When sent on his own. You see,
But he's already an offensive coordinator somewhere right now, isn't he?
is he?
His son Kendall is. His son Kendall is. I don't know about Art.
Art went to like a high school program.
Yeah, it was some real little school somewhere.
Yeah, we got to get this right for sure. Jerome was not a fan of Gatewood. Paid a lot of money to not produce results. This is 100% right. He didn't do anything with all that money. Auburn, Mario Cristobal, there's a sighting about him. They win championships. We're saying that we need to leave Under Armour and go with Nike, I guess.
A better brand.
Again, another Cristobal comment.
2 in a row, yeah. I mean, listen.
Those are ugly losses. Those are ugly losses.
They are. I watched that game too.
Those are ugly losses.
Speaking straight. Listen, this is all we come here to do. Is speak straight facts.
As Mike Giddens said, we provide a service to you guys to say what the national pundits are not saying.
They're not going to say this stuff, right?
Couple of people saying Browse, no way. This is an interesting one. Take a run at Sark. This is one I have not seen anybody mention. Matthew Pollard. It's an interesting thought.
Who is he coaching?
Let
me talk to Google real quick. I got a close friend named Google.
Bo was garbage. He didn't leave the program, guys. Just because Gus left doesn't mean Bo did.
Yeah.
But he can.
Yeah, definitely. Trajectory go in a whole direction. 100% agree there, Lane. Bubba, old man, thank you again for Bubba and the old man tuning in. They have a channel of their own, so appreciate you hopping in. Terrible coach, not a terrible coach, just not a good enough to take us to the playoffs. It's facts. He was just middling coach, but getting paid top 10 money.
He was an 8-4 solid coach.
But that's not worth being paid as a top 10 coach.
Saying that, let's acknowledge this. We have an 8-game SEC schedule in a normal year. Okay, so what we have is an opportunity to win 8 games. His record should be almost solely based on the SEC record. I hate hearing, he was better than 500. 3 of our 4 out-of-conference games every year were paid victories. 3 out of 4 conference games every year were paid victories.
Right.
You do not get credit for being above 500 when we are, at worst, the 5th or 6th best team in the conference as far as talent goes. And you're paying for 3 victories every year. That's not acceptable.
Yeah. This is the first one that I'm not even going to let live for too long. No.
Jim Harbaugh's trying to get back in the league. He's trying to get back in the NFL. He's trying to get out of Michigan.
Jim Harbaugh is
Michigan's trying to get rid of him. They're probably going and like hiring at
this point.
They're probably hiring NFL headhunters like, hey, y'all need a defensive coordinator because we got one. in the back seat, you know what I'm saying, like that I hadn't used in the last couple of years. Y'all could just have them, you know, be a good deal on it. Major talent, big letdowns for sure.
Matt
I don't know
Campbell.
who this is.
No.
I've heard that name.
Bienville. I don't know who this is.
I've
Yeah.
heard that name.
I thought at first when I first thought I thought he was going to say be enemy, but that's not. Maybe that's what he meant. I don't know.
That's maybe what he means.
Joe Brady.
Joe Brady would be
Joe
my.
Brady.
Like, listen, if we could just get him in,
Why?
like,
Why you want Joe-
Thoughts
I mean,
on Rodney
you
Garner?
would
This
have
is going
to-
to be
you
an
would-
interesting one.
Huh. Rodney, I got thoughts, but let's
I have thoughts on
Yeah.
it. Yeah, buddy.
There we
check.
go.
Cut it. They
This is
cut
an
it.
interesting one. This is an interesting one. Hugh Jackson.
No.
Man, there's a lot of interesting suggestions out here.
I've heard
Tony
that name.
Elliott.
I've heard he's the OC at Clemson.
Oh no, we're
Yeah.
not.
He's the OC at Clemson. I've heard
we saw
people-
Venables at some point in time.
Tony Elliott is Virginia Tech's coach.
Is he?
Yeah, he's a Virginia Tech.
Okay, I thought he was.
Oh wait, no, wait.
I thought he was Clemson's OC.
Clemson. He's Clemson. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll get back to the comments here in just a second. I've pretty much caught up with a lot of them. You guys have had a lot of feedback. We got an angry react out there from somebody on Facebook. But let's talk about it, Mike. Just give me your top three. Who are the three guys that you would like to see most and turn this program around and why?
Okay, so you're not gonna like one of them. I'll tell you that much. But
It's all right. Speak your piece, brother.
It's Christmas is a couple weeks away, so I'm gonna speak as if this is on my Christmas list. Honestly,
Yeah, I already know where this is going after you said that.
I felt the top of my list was Bob Stoops. I would love to get a Bob Stoops type in here. He knows offensive football. He can put together a consistent program, and he has won big games versus top SEC schools at Oklahoma. Right? He knows what he's doing with quarterbacks, right? And he runs a clean program as well too. Like, listen, man, Tubbs ran a clean program.
Is there a such thing as a clean program in college
Yes,
football?
there is. Yes, there is.
Oh, wait a minute. A winning clean program.
Correct. Right. Yeah, winning
Okay.
clean program. Yes, definitely.
Wait, Mike.
Tubbs ran a
Depends on your definition of clean. But let him go. Let him go. Let Mike continue,
Yeah,
please.
like I say, this your time. This your time. Get your rocks off.
Yeah, listen, I worked in that athletic department. Tubbs ran a clean program. He did. And he was big on player discipline, and they handled a lot of things in-house that the average fans didn't see. I witnessed it, right? Like, they just didn't put up with crap behind the scenes. I think that there needs to be kind of a reintroduction of discipline to our program. Program discipline has been somewhat lost, and we're settling for a mediocre product on the field because of it, right? So right now, our offense has not evolved with what football is turning into. It's not exciting to watch. It's not producing results. It is consistently inconsistent. And so next on my list would be, I struggle with this because he does not run a clean program, is Urban Meyer, right? At this point, I just want a proven offensive guru to come in here and produce offense, so that recruits can get excited about getting opportunities to showcase their talents again. We said it over and over again. If you are a top bill wide receiver, why do you come to Auburn at this point? Right? If you're a quarterback, beside guaranteed playing time, why do you come to Auburn? Right? There's nothing in our development history that suggests that we know how to get you to the next level. Right? So I think that number one, you need a coach who has a good record with player development. One of the comments that was up on the screen that I wholly agree with is that we need to go. I don't want an up and comer. Go out and get somebody who is proven this time, right? I mean, listen. After Tubbs left, they went with Chiz. Chiz at least got us the championship, right? But there was a lot of, like, we couldn't get anybody better than the 5-7 coach at Iowa State, right? And then they took the safe route after Chiz in Gus Malzahn, and they brought back the guy who was with the program, right? And he got us to a national title, so it seemed like a good idea at the time, but in hindsight, really, because we stayed stagnant for the 7 years after that, we probably could have done better, right? And since we didn't win that championship in 2013, I would have traded that hire for somebody who would have been a better program builder than Gus, right? At least Chiz got us the championship. So if you're going to go out and hire somebody, I want championship pedigree. I think that Bob Stoops has it, right? I would, if we were going to get an up and comer, like, I would like somebody like a Joe Brady. If we were going to get an up.
So is that your third guy, Joe Brady?
Yeah, like somebody who knows what they're doing with offense, right? I mean, look at what he's doing at Carolina this year. I mean, they're short on talent, but they have lost some games, but they've become exciting to watch. Together a team that clearly works on every level of football, and I think that that's something that you can really sell to recruits, right? He coached Joe Burrow, right, and then he took that same system to the NFL, and it's produced instant results for them offensively. They're one of the top offensive teams in the NFL right now. So I want a coach with a proven track record, right? I'm open to other ideas. I saw Brett Venables out there. I'm not sure if I'm in love with the idea of a defensive head coach at this point. I'm not. I think you maintain this defensive coaching staff and let the guy on offense bring his own guys in.
I actually disagree a little bit with the thought that a defensive head coach is not the way to go. I think that hiring a solid DC, as long as you don't want to be the defensive coordinator and the head coach, I don't mind a defensive minded head coach. But right. I'm gonna let Caesar get in here and give me his potentials of who he wants to see be the next coach, and how do we feel that the program is going to be going here. If I can get this thing to work. Maybe. I don't know. All right, there we go. Caesar.
For my list, I like what Mike is saying, and my thing is this: I made my list under the realistic idea that we're not getting any of those guys. Okay. But it's Christmas. I get it. The realistic, like the guys who we can actually land. I am looking for someone who can build, who has a track record. Even if you did it at a low level, you have a track record for building a program. In other words, the program wasn't doing all that great when you showed up. And now you have turned them into winners, consistent winners, not a splash in the pan year success, winners. Yes, Malzahn was 9-3 at Arkansas State, but he inherited a 10-2 squad that was built up by Hugh Freeze when he got there. So we can't really look to Malzahn as actually building a program when we hired him. So one of the people on my list is Hugh Freeze, because we've seen it do it not once, not twice, but 3 times. At Arkansas State, they were average squad. But once he got there, they won the conference championship. They were 10-2. He went to Ole Miss. What did they do? They recruited well. Yeah, there was some little questionable things going on there, but he was competitive. He beat Bama, and he did it at Ole Miss, guys. He didn't do it at LSU. He didn't do it at Auburn or Georgia, schools who have an abundance of resources. He did it at Ole freaking Miss. Had them challenging for a Division West title. They were in the running. He had them like in the top 10 ranking at some points while he was at Ole Miss. We know what happened, and the things that that people wonder about him, his ability to stay clean as a person, run a clean program, those are concerns. So I understand why people may not be high on Hugh Freeze, but what you can't knock this guy is that he actually got hired by Liberty University. Isn't that a Christian school?
Okay, yes, it is, but that
I know.
Not just in name. I'm saying the president of the university actually had some pictures. Anyway,
I know they're not without their own stench either. Okay. But what I'm saying is that we've seen this guy go to a third program, a program that's only been in existence 3 years, I think. Liberty football program has not been around long.
Right.
So he's basically taken that program with a quarterback who left our program, who we know was not going to see the light of day, and has him looking like he could play on Sundays. Isn't that what we wanted, Auburn? So to me, Hugh Freeze is number one.
Hey, wait.
Or he's in my list. He's in my list.
Before you move on to number two, I just want to point out that I'm not totally disagreeing with your direction of thinking on this one, but the show cause penalty that he got hit with or lack of institutional control does concern me, right?
Sure.
Because once you hire a coach like that, they start looking under the hood just a little bit more. So if we already got something in there that might be shaky, right, it might just draw attention to that. That's the only thing that concerns me about you.
Sure.
I mean, this kind of leads into the point that Keontae has made about like it was the same issues you were going to have with hiring a Bruce Pearl, who has turned our basketball program around. Now,
right, but we're on a self-imposed one year ban now, though, right? Yeah. Like, I'm not arguing with his results on the court. I'm just saying, like,
let's talk about. Can we talk about that? From what I've been told, what I've heard, we know was the cause of that, right?
Yeah, the persons. Yeah.
Bruce Pearl did not want him on his staff, from what I've been told.
Yeah.
Jay Jacobs wanted him on his staff.
Right. I mean, I
credit that more to Jay Jacobs than Bruce Pearl.
Which is why Jay Jacobs isn't here anymore. Like, let's be clear. Jay Jacobs is responsible for the downfall of Auburn athletics in the fact that he extended Gus Malzahn and he hired Wesley Person.
There you go.
So I get the whole basketball, but we can't really put all that on Bruce Pearl if he didn't even want him to begin with. But back to my list. The second guy is Mario Cristobal.
Okay.
Listen, I know he's had some ugly losses this year. He's had some ugly losses this year, but listen, we've seen what this guy has done with Oregon. Like, he has them. They won the conference last year. They missed out on a chance to get to the playoff because they dropped an ugly loss to Utah, but they won the conference championship. The guy who they had before him, who was the guy who went to Florida State and then got fired?
Willie
Taggart.
Willie Taggart was there. They were average when he got there. Oregon is just not. They're just not littered with talent. But he now has them. He's bringing kids up to Oregon. He can recruit. While he was at Alabama, he was actually the recruiting coordinator at Alabama. Saban just don't just put anybody as a recruiting coordinator at Alabama. And he had the title of assistant coach. So he's been groomed to run a program. And he has a penchant for being an O-line guy, physical. He understands the war within the trenches. He understands the importance for having nasty linemen on both sides of the ball. Where have we been struggling this year? On the lines, on both sides of the ball. So this guy understands that. He knows how to recruit and get those kids, and he has a track record for recruiting very well. And he wants, for what I've been told, he wants to move back to the South and be in the SEC. I want a guy who wants that smoke. I want a guy who wants to go up against the Sabans and the Kirby Smarts and is willing to do it. I want a guy like that.
Yeah. So which is why I thought the Lane Kiffin hire at Ole Miss was beautiful, because Lane's not scared to come down here and compete. Same thing with Mike Leach. Mike Leach don't care. He's like, look, I'm in a lose-lose situation here with Miss. Like, if I do anything that resembles progress, they're gonna keep me. He knew what he was getting into when he got down here to Mississippi State. And so we'll see how that goes. But yes, wanting the smoke is a big thing.
And to be fair, yes, they were ugly losses, Oregon State and I think Cal. But let's remember, he has a quarterback who's playing on Sundays, who's no longer on that roster. They're in the Pac-12, who were not going to play football this year. Didn't have a spring. This is a team that's figuring it out at Oregon. But the trajectory of that program is positive, which is why Oregon wanted to extend his contract.
They also lost the whole offensive line.
Right.
Left too. Yeah.
So he's lost a lot. So let's be fair. Yes, they're ugly losses. He should have beat those teams, but he lost a lot. And with the way their season, that conference had started the season, it was going to be some bumps. It was going to be some ugly moments with that team. It just was. But just to explain that. those are really the only two I have. I will speak on Billy Napier. I know that's a name that people are throwing out. I think his resume is kind of impressive because he's a good recruiter. Just to name some of the people he's recruited personally, because he's been on Clemson staff and he's been on Alabama staff. He's recruited Cam Robinson, Calvin Ridley, Jerry Jeudy, Taj Boyd. Those just to name a few of guys he's recruited. So he's known to be a really good recruiter. At Louisiana, he has a.
Hey, Blake, don't speak on this, bro. Don't speak on that, man.
Yeah, let's not.
Yeah, we're not going there. 27-11 overall at Louisiana, right? When he first got to Louisiana, he was 7-7, 11-3 the next year, 9-1 this year. So we've seen him take another program and begin to build it up. He's known as also as a good recruiter.
Right.
Only reason why I don't think he's ready for an Auburn job yet. I don't know if he's ready for Auburn. So I'm not high on him like some other people are. So it's Hugh. To me, it's just two: Hugh Freeze and it's Cristobal.
Right. I like Cristobal from a recruiting standpoint. Your points on recruiting. In terms of his success in the Pac-12, that conference is complete trash. I'm not sure how much I'm basing it on.
It is a trash conference. So what I would say to that is it's really going to be about making sure that he has the right recruiters, the right staff with him. Like he's going to need a good offensive coordinator, a good defensive coordinator. If he can put the program together, let somebody else come in and do all the work to make sure that the product on the field is going to match the level of what we're able to do in recruiting, which again, Gus Malzahn has historically not been able to do.
You got Nasties up front.
If you get the Nasties up front with a guy like Tank,
we're good. Good money.
Yeah. All right. So let's go here then. B. Will. I already know at least where two of the names are on B. Will's list. I don't know why my thing has got such a huge delay right now on this being able to switch this over, but I apologize, guys. So yeah, Brian, let's talk about how you feel like we should be going and what direction we should be going in now.
I would like to start this morning with a reading from Mr. Alex Kozan, offensive lineman for the 2013 team, who hurt his back in the offseason, set out 2014 where our offensive line struggled and our run game took a step back. His reaction some of the reaction. If you don't invest in what's actually needed to make Auburn football successful, you can hire as many coaches as you want and it won't matter. As things stand, the program is controlled by a small group that doesn't have a clue what they're doing.
Somebody preaching.
Woo!
Now,
grass is not always greener. I will agree with that statement, Malcolm. But what I will say is it wasn't too green now. So making the change doesn't hurt you when you're already a middling program. You might as well bite the bullet now and go ahead and make the pivot. So anyway, continue, B. Will. Who are your three?
All right. So I wanted to read Alex Kozan there because it is important that we understand that a championship level coach, the big names that Mike mentioned, the reason those names won't work is because the people who fund our program think they should have the right to decide who is the coach, to tell that coach to get a new offensive coordinator, because we know that was part of what happened here, why Rhett left and why there had been pretty much a cycling door at OC since Rhett left. You cannot tell somebody who actually knows what the hell they're doing that they need to come and check with you first and you don't know what the hell you're doing. Big coaches aren't going to go for that. Auburn,
which was a big thing of why when they hired Nick Saban at Alabama, he was like, "Look, I'm not coming there unless you just allow me to run this program how I want. Like, I'm just not going to do it."
I will also add that that's a reason why Tuberville had so much friction with our
100%.
Yeah, because he kept the voices out of our athletic department that he felt like he wasn't going to be a puppet for the board of trustees, right? And I remember specifically working in that in the 4 years that I filmed practices. Let me tell you, Pat Dye came in and gave one speech to the team because Tuberville thought he was toxic to our program. Right. And so he kept him out of the athletic department because he's part of Dye was part of that bigger system that was pulling strings behind, and he was going to run our program the way he wanted to. So I agree with you 100% on those points.
Right. So with that being the case, unfortunately, it's not something that we can just change. We can't flip that switch because they actually roll. They're our money roll right there, but they're also our handicap at the exact same time. Which is why a big name coach, the only way that happens is if that big name coach comes here and says, "Listen, you keep so and so, so and so, and so and so away from the program, and I'll come for this much money." I'm not saying that can't happen. I don't think it's likely to happen. And along with
when you say a big name coach, though, who are we referencing as this big name coach that we won't be able to
I'm
get?
speaking more towards Bob Stoops, Urban Meyer, because Mike mentioned those. I don't like either one of those guys for here anyway. Bob Stoops because he did not win anything since 2000. What 2000? 2001?
2000 actually.
When did he leave?
He faced LSU. I think since then he faced LSU in 2003, and I think he faced Florida in 2008.
And got mollywopped.
24-14 against Florida in 2008.
No, we can't forget 2004 when we should have been in the championship game, but Oklahoma got mud stumped by.
Yeah, that too.
I'm cool on Bob Stoops. Y'all can get excited. I'm cool on Bob Stoops.
I want to know who you want.
Okay, so here's going along with the thinking that we have people up here controlling the strings, right? We have to have somebody who can A, accept those limitations, and B, exceed expectations even with those limitations, because those limitations aren't going away. That's not who we are. We have to know who we are and what our limitations are and exceed in spite of them. If Gus had actually won the big game in 2013, some of the hands would have started to come off out of the kitchen. He could have sent some people out of the kitchen if he had cooked up a really, really bomb meal to start off his tenure. You have to win with these limitations, and then people will get out of your way.
Can I ask you a question, B?
Yes.
Is that possible?
I think it's possible.
Because a coach who can win and do that, they don't like being told what to do with their own program.
Exact, and that's why I'm saying the big names, they won't happen. That won't happen here. It won't happen here. The people who make the decisions want to be able to make the decisions, and they also have the checkbooks. Though that doesn't go together. So whoever we have has to be like Gus was, like, okay, you know what? I'm cool with those limitations. Just give me some time, and I'm gonna do something for you. He got really close early. Time went on. He couldn't do it with those limitations, and those limitations may have hampered Gus. Those people dabbling may have contributed to why he couldn't have the exact type of system and program he wanted. But I mean, that's out the door now. So here's who I want and why.
Okay.
I would like, number one, Bill Clark at UAB.
I knew this one was coming.
Yeah, I kind of too.
He did. I don't know how many people can get their program killed, which means you have a year of kids not practicing, not working out. They're not on your strength and training program. They are, you're not recruiting.
Y'all reaching a little bit in these comments here. Dabo Sweeney and Dan Mullen. I mean, those are great coaches, but like, why would they leave where they are?
Yeah, that's a step down for both those coaches.
So you need Bill Clark made something out of nothing, which is what Gus did year one, which is why I was so excited about it. I'm thinking, yeah, we need somebody who's going to do more with less. Bill Clark has done more he has won his division after a 1-year death penalty, and you come back and win your division and the title of your conference. Listen.
Yeah, 3 years straight he's won the division.
That is a do more with less, and that is exactly what we need here. He's already in the state. He recruits the state. He has been recruiting the state since he was coaching at South Alabama, which he was coaching at South Alabama because it was a new program for him. He would be able to recruit our state extremely well and manage the talent that we do get. Now, it would take time because he is not a big name. So he would have to outperform his recruitment and outperform the expectations, and then momentum would start to build. But that's what we want. We want to build a program. I don't want to splash hire because splash can splash and then the water settles and then we just sink it. I want somebody who's going to build a program. So that's my number one. Okay. My number two would be Mario Cristobal, to Jay's point, and in other conversations to Ike's point. And it's because of what we said, which is recruiting. What we were not able to get here consistently are the absolute single guy difference makers at Auburn. We could not get them here. Derek Brown, Marlon Davidson. I'm trying to think of anybody else who was just like that one guy changes the game, and I can't think of them. I really cannot. Not out of high school. We got one or two on the transfer.
Okay.
Yeah, but out of high school, those guys didn't want to come here. Mario Cristobal, focusing on the trenches, which is necessary. No matter what type of offense you want to run, you need to have, at the very least, a good offensive line and preferably a very good or great one, and not one every 4 years because you shuffling through a whole bunch of mid and you finally found a recipe and now you know what you're going to do year 4. 2 years, offensive line is good again. Give me a down year and then give me back up to the level I was playing at 2 years ago because I lost some, but I got a chance to put it back together. Mario Cristobal has also recruited our area. He has also recruited the state. And let's just be real, fellas. Without making any type of accusations for anybody in our conference, I'm not accusing anybody of anything. All of us who have attended major SEC schools, so if you went to Georgia, if you went to Alabama, if you went to LSU, if you went to the University of Florida, you know we're cheating. And we're cheating real good, all right? Some better than others. Hugh Freeze, the reason I don't want Hugh Freeze, he cheated to get that outstanding crop of recruits. He beat Bama and then lost games he had no business losing with those same recruits. You telling me you were good enough to beat Bama 2 years in a row, but you can beat Auburn 2 years in a row? Auburn? No, I don't want him here. That's a failure. If you actually get the guys, I don't know what better example it is that you get the guys and you get better.
That kind of hurt my feelings a little bit, Brian, but go ahead.
Personally attacked by that comment.
Yeah, I felt a little triggered. Go ahead.
Swagger. Listen, man, swagger don't matter once you win game. Dabo Sweeney is the most swaggerless man I have ever seen walking the sideline, and he got the ship rope. And it's not because he knows offense. And that's we don't even need a coach who's focused on one side of the ball. You just have to know how to recruit and who to get. That's it. That's it. Can you recruit and can you get the offensive and defensive coordinator that will maximize the recruits that you get? That is all we need. We don't need splash and big names. Splash and big names come with demands and they change a lot of stuff. And the people who are bankrolling the program, they don't want that.
B, let me ask you a question. What do you think about Sarkisian?
I think Sarkisian is anybody who has. Okay, so Sarkisian was USC and Washington previously, right? His head coach. He did all right or mediocre there and got fired, but he also had some personal problems, right? So let's give him some slack for that. When you come up, and he was an assistant at Alabama before Kiffin bolted, so then he got the reins at Alabama, right? I would hope that with the type of talent they get, if your responsibility is to coordinate the offense, if you have the best collection of offensive talent in college football, how could you not succeed unless you are terrible at your job? There is no way to not succeed at Alabama as a one side of the ball coach unless you are terrible. That is the only way you cannot succeed. He went to the pros to coach, I don't know, a couple of the greatest players in that franchise's history on offense. Listen, man, can you do it with less? He has not done it with less. When he had less, he didn't do that great. Since he has come back to coaching, starting at Alabama and the Falcons back at Alabama, he has had an abundance, and he's looked the part. His offenses have been outstanding. You're not going to get those guys here. Not up front, not early. You're going to have to get here. You're going to have some good, decent recruits that you are going to have to turn into a great offense. The question is, who can do that? Do I think Sarkisian can do that? No. We don't have Julio Jones, man. We ain't got we don't have those guys. We got Bo Nix. You gonna do Bo Nix?
Well, I want to get back to a comment here that was made on by Cameron about needing a head coach that's going to discipline our kids hands on.
You get
Right.
I want to add on something to that too.
Right, and let the coordinators do their job, right? So, when you're talking about program building, coordinators, for the most part, do become plug and play, right? Because you have a program philosophy, you bring guys in who implement a process, right? I hate referring to him, but I mean, pretty much what Saban has done, right? He's been plugging and playing, plug and playing coordinators at offense since 2000, since Lane Kiffin, right? I just want to see some stability in that area. And, you guys all make great points in terms of the names that you're mentioning. Brian made a great point about why some of those big names may not work at our school because of what goes on behind the scenes at Auburn, right? Those guys aren't going to have their strings pulled because they have too much clout to do that. And, for the first time when Saban got there at Alabama, like, they had to turn the keys to the truck over to Saban. It was non-negotiable. It was arguable that one of the reasons why he left the NFL was because of how many different people had their hands in the pot in his decisions, right? I mean, listen, you go back, remember when Drew Brees left San Diego, Saban wanted. The GM pulled it, and they got who they got, and we see how that.
They had Culpepper, I think.
Yeah, and we see how Drew Brees turned out.
Yeah.
But the guy Saban wanted is going to go down statistically as the best quarterback to ever do it, right? And that's why it's important to give a competent head coach full control of the program, right, and not have voices in the back. So I would like to see. I mean, I know it's probably a pipe dream, but based on what we know from when we were in school with Jetgate, I don't know if many people watching remember Jetgate, where they went out and they went to go talk to Bobby Petrino, and they got on a plane, and a reporter broke it because he looked at the flight manifest and saw that, something's happening here, right? I would like to see a change, an institutional change in hire, and saying, you know what, maybe it's time we do take our hands out of the pot, pay the money for a big name guy, and then let him have it and see what happens. Right? I don't understand.
And I think that the change in administration over to Alan Green, to this point of this comment,
I agree.
This is his first major move.
He's
really.
on the clock.
I think Alan Green is out here saying, I want this program to go in a different direction, and I don't want my legacy to be mediocrity, i.e. Gus Malzahn's tenure.
I hired who they told me to hire, and then it still burned to the ground. Like, listen, if it's going to burn to the ground, I'm going to be held responsible for it. It might as well be his guy.
But see, of course, the biggest risk of that is if he goes against what the other people want, he doesn't get the resources to actually field a good product. All the channel to the ability to recruit high-end recruits comes from resources.
It's Auburn, baby. He's got resources. Win, and you'll get it.
Oh, Mike.
So if you win, now here's the thing. If you win, you can demand that.
Yeah. If you win, they won't have a choice. That's it. And you know what? And if you make the right hire, this doesn't have to be a years long process. Listen, the right coach come in and have us in contention next year.
I agree. I'm not disagreeing with you. What I'm telling you is we just got rid of our coach a week before early signing day, 3 days before early signing day, and 2.5 months before signing day. So what or 2 months, 3 months, 2 months, yeah. So what I'm telling you is this. If these guys say, listen, I want Bob Stoops, and Alan Green says, no, we're going to go with that guy because I think he can develop our guys. He can get our guys to the NFL. Not that Bob Stoops couldn't, but we don't have to pay that much, and we can actually get a more consistent program we don't have to worry about this guy leaving. He wants to build, and he'll do it the right way.
Right.
You know what? Fine. That whole class you think you got about to come in where we have dedicated resources in these certain channels and paths to get that class you want, I'm cutting ties. You figure out how to do it on your own. We would immediately suffer by going against the wishes of the people who are bankrolling the program. And that's just how it is.
That's like saying, though, that we're doomed no matter what we do.
But here's the thing. Every school deals with this.
They do.
Right? And so
until they make the decision to hire a guy that they
exactly.
Right. We've seen
who commands you have to change.
Right. Now it's time for us to take that next step.
You think those guys are gonna let Nick Saban walk out the door and tell him no?
Yeah, listen, Bama did it. Ohio State did it, right? Like, I mean, they you know, at some point, you know, and Florida is figuring it out. And, you know, again, winning cures a lot of that. You win enough games, they cannot interfere in your process. Right?
I agree with that. But what I'm telling you is that unlike Ohio State and Bama, we don't have the same pockets. Texas A&M has those pockets. UT Austin has those pockets. Bama has them. Ohio State has them.
We got the pockets. Listen, we got the pockets. We got the pockets.
Not like those other schools. No, we do not.
But again, Texas is in their own way right now.
They are, and they're going through everything that we did.
You look at what they're going through.
They got the deepest pockets in college football, right?
And they try to go after some of these big names. So
and listen, A&M has arguably they have just as deep pockets as Texas.
Which is why they always had the talent, even when Sumlin was there. Sumlin was a abysmal head coach, but they had the talent when Sumlin was there. And the fact that they did so mediocre under him shows what type of coach he was, which is why you see the result in Arizona.
Right.
So it's the resources, but you have to. Sumlin had the buy-in, and what he did with it was one great year, a good year, and then nothing. With talent, and that's the thing. He did that with talent. We did just underneath Texas A&M as far as talent goes. We need somebody who's going to take good talent, turn it into a great program, and then great talent will come in, and it will refresh itself, and it'll be a cycle that continues all the time.
Right. I just want to make a point, right, about I disagree with you strongly on us not having the same sort of resources. I think we have just as much resources, you know, and I mean, the difference between right now in terms of revenue, Texas A&M is the top school in the SEC, right? Bama, Florida, LSU.
We're not talking about on the boots.
Right. But again, our boosters' pockets are deep enough to compare. I don't think the disparity between us and the top programs is that great, right? And there's enough kids to go around, right? Like, I mean, at the end of the day, right, you just need to put a winning product on the field that people want to be a part of the program. And it starts there. So it starts with player development and coaching, right? You know, you can recruit well if you can prove to these kids that they have a chance to make it to the next level in your program, because that's what it's turned into. Right? I mean, look, I just want to remind everybody that there was a time in Auburn football where guys were transferring out because we were actually too crowded for good reasons. Does anybody remember a time when we had Carnell Williams, Ronnie Brown, and Brandon Jacobs, who went on to have a pretty decent NFL career, and they were trying to move Brandon Jacobs to linebacker, and he said, I'm not going to play with linebacker. So he went to like Northern Illinois, and he still got to the league. Right, all those guys played in the league. You know, at defensive back, you know, guys like Carlos Rogers, you know, Jason Campbell played this. I mean, we were crowded for good reasons at some point, and those recruiting classes were not as heralded as the ones that we have been getting the last 6 years. Right, so you need a coach who can come in and even just do what Tuberville was doing from a coaching perspective in terms of players. Like, listen, I believe strongly if you gave Tuberville these recruits, if he could have recruited like this, man, he beat Bama six years in a row, right? Like, I mean, we wouldn't be having this conversation. His system was at least good at developing two-star.
Bama was awful then, though, just to be fair.
Terrible. Right? Yeah. I mean, I get that, but he wasn't losing to them. I mean, he wasn't. There weren't a ton of, God, how did we lose this game, right? Like, if we were clearly middling that year, but in his better years, we were competing for SEC titles. Right. And I'm just thinking to myself, I'm like, just like in 2013, when Gus came in, the cupboards for the next coach will not be bare. And the expectation should be that we can compete immediately if he can plug in a few pieces. Listen, either he's going to get Bo Nix to where Bo needs to be, or we're going to recruit the guy that's going to come in and do what we see all these other freshman QBs doing around our league. That's it. The talent is there. Look what this guy, Max Johnson, did out at LSU. You know, at the end of the season, he comes in as the third string quarterback and beats the number 6 team in the nation, man. Right? Like, he made a pass last night, and I was just like, man, I haven't seen that at Auburn. Why can't we get a coach to come in here and coach a guy to do this? It was a 5-yard touchdown pass that was one of the best touch throws I've ever seen. I have not seen Bo make that throw his entire Auburn career, right? And to give Bo some reprieve, I'm telling you, I just think it's player development. So all the names on you guys' list, I feel like that's a good list. I really do. I'm on board with anybody who's going to come in and focus on player development because it starts there. Without the development, none of the rest of what we're talking about matters. It just doesn't, right? So you need a program builder is really a good program builder is a guy who can develop talent. That's it, right? And then guys either
talent not only with players but with coaches. You let the coaches do their job.
Listen, Cody Burns staying our wide receiver coach for as long as he has is an inexcusable mismanagement decision. What in the entire and actual hell, fellas? Right? Like, I mean, look at the product that we're putting out on the field at wide receiver. This is crazy. Right? It's crazy what we're watching. So, like, whoever they hire, we just need to be able to look at their coaching history and say, okay, this guy has done well with players, right? And his guys go on to the next level, and they've produced championships. Go get that name, and I really believe. I think, Brian, I hear what you're saying institutionally. What I'm telling you is I'm effing sick of that. I'm sick of having this conversation about our board of trustees meddling in our program. Get the hell out of the way and hire a guy and let him do the job.
Because if he does the job, you still win.
You still win.
Bringing in money.
All these
look good.
All these behind the scenes egos that they have about wanting, no, I don't give a damn about any of the board of trustees. Not one time in all my years of watching Auburn football have we ever won a game. I was like, man, we got the best board of trustees ever. What? Nobody cares about you. Just pay the check, right, and stay out of the way, right? Man, like it's time to move on. Dion commented, I appreciate that comment, right? Like we experienced this firsthand when we were in school there. It was widely known how much meddling our board of trustees does.
Bobby Louder is a legend.
The worst, right? And
legend.
And let me tell you, you talk about cheating. I witnessed the $100 handshakes. Carrying my camera. And listen, I maybe was the recipient of a couple of them because they thought that I was a player, right? I'm not saying that I did or didn't take any cash, right? But like, I witnessed it. I went to the bowl games, right? And I saw these vultures hovering around the program, willing to pay any dollar for an autograph or for some extra access to practice, right? And I know that shit happens. We just need a coach to cut this shit out, right? And let a coach and get us to the next level. The talent is there. The resources are there. We are in the right league. We have an advantage schools like Oregon don't have. Well, every year we know we're going to have a marquee matchup to prove that we belong in the conversation, right?
Georgia, Alabama, LSU.
Yeah, man, I'm telling you,
LSU. Yeah.
While that's a tough place to be, right, in terms of winning consistently, right? How many schools never even get the chance to prove that they belong in the conversation because they just don't have those matchups on their schedule.
This is what Cristobal's issue is at Oregon, is that if they lose that non-conference big matchup, they are pretty much sunk for the remainder of the year because nobody's going to give them the shot. You have redemption time.
And to be fair with him, he's not being paid a lot. He's not working with a lot. Like someone mentioned that he hired Joe Moorhead. Who else can he get to go work on his staff? Auburn has the were we the highest paid staff?
Yes. Listen, resources are not the issue at all.
Cristobal can get people, and it won't be Joe Moorhead if we get Cristobal.
I just want to debunk that right now. Resources are not the issue at all, right? People are the issue. People are the issue, and they just need to get out of the way, right? So go out and hire somebody to just do the damn job so that we can not witness what we witnessed this year, right? I mean, in a down year, this was an opportunity for them action. Right, I think that 82 season would have been spectacular for all that this year. And quite honestly, looking at how some of these games ended, we all agree that South Carolina was winnable. Right, like so we're 7-3 right there, and then you pull out a win against one of your biggest rivals. You cannot continue to lose those two games every year. It is getting exhausting losing to Bama and Georgia in the same year consistently,
Right.
right? Like, and it just can't go on. I mean, his record against just those two schools is abysmal,
That
right?
should get you fired alone. That
Combined,
record.
won some
I
games
mean,
against
it has to get you fired since it was the reason why you got your extension, right? Like you
right,
got your
right.
extension for beating them, so your record against them has to be indicative of you getting
Right.
fired soon thereafter. Like since you pulled off this miraculous 2-win streak against those teams, you have done terribly against those teams. Like we just have not, and I mean, and you can throw LSU in there. We've been abysmal against LSU as well.
And even
You know,
even if we had a win to point at where we could say, listen, we beat Bama and we beat them good. It's always like, listen, I enjoy the heart attack miracle games. I do. They make for great Christmas talk, right? Like when we pull out these amazing wins against Bama. But for once, I would just like, but when they beat us, they dominate us, and it's not in question, right?
Or how about this? How about we beat Georgia and Alabama and then don't turn around and lose the UCF or Minnesota?
Hey.
Like what?
yeah, we haven't even talked about his bowl record.
Yeah. I mean, it's just time. You bring a coach in who has a record of winning those games, right? But I'm telling you, it all goes back to player development for me, right? Bo Nix is again, this is the last time I'll say it now that we're done with Gus Malzahn. He tied his coaching future at Auburn to Bo Nix's development or non-development. And since he did not develop Bo Nix, our season went with Bo Nix. I know our defense wasn't as good as they normally are. I know that, right? But I really felt like whether this was a good season or a bad season, right? 0-12 in Athens. Just
it is.
Holy crap. What? Give me a break, right? And so when we made picks for the Iron Bowl, I had no reservations about picking against Auburn because history was clear. We had no chance in that game. Zero chance to win that. Absolutely no chance, right? And that can't be the case at a school like Auburn with the resources that we have, right? Where we go into a big game as fans essentially thinking, unless you sunshine pumping, because I know there's some Auburn creators out there doing that. We're not doing that here at the War Report, where I knew any objective Auburn fan knew we had no chance outside of an absolute miracle to beat them this year. We were so overmatched in every facet, coaching, play calling, talent. They had us beat everywhere. And it showed. So, that can't be the case, but we can close that gap really quickly with the right staff. This does not have to be a 5-year rebuilding plan. It doesn't. This could be a 6-month plan.
Part of what's so discouraging about this is that defensively, we were actually doing. Like, one side of the ball was floundering terribly. And honestly, Gus Malzahn had been burned as an offensive coach to the point where we weren't going to be in the mix for the best wide receivers, the best quarterbacks. We were or the best offensive linemen. The decision was already made from the NFL on down that our offense, Gus's offense, was going to ruin offensive linemen and quarterbacks, and that wide receivers weren't going to come in educated about how to run professional routes. We were at a disadvantage from whatever our normal disadvantages are. It was going to be an extreme uphill battle to get the best talent here on that side of the ball. Unfortunately, the defense, which is what we actually saw it, they're gone. Like you hope that Kevin Steele and what we saw from Cadillac, and I don't know. I know our secondary coaches, both secondary coaches, were doing great work over there. And T. Will. I don't know what happens with them, and that's what I worry about. It's like you can't keep it going the way it's been going because they come with Gus, and Gus is the problem. But man, now you're kind of hitting the reset button. I don't know. Maybe there's the coach who goes, listen.
But there's literally no way to reset the program without getting rid of the guy who's the problem. So, I mean, at some point in time, this change had to happen, or you were going to keep Gus and lose those guys, right? So if we're going to do it, we might as well wipe the slate clean. Hopefully the next guy comes in and he has a conversation with this defensive staff. If he's a guy who respects how we've been doing over the last couple of years, it's like, you know what? I want to keep you here, and they'll retain the defensive staff because I think that they've been the strength, and that's actually a conversation we probably can table for another day. Once we see who the hire is, or maybe some of this stuff, we can talk about how much of that staff we feel like is going to be retained. I don't want to keep you guys on here too long, so we're going to go ahead and get out of here. I did not give my three, but I will just really quickly tell you that I agree. I don't have a new name to introduce. I'm going to go Cristobal. I'm going to go Hugh Freeze, and then I'm actually going to agree with B. Will on Bill Clark as the other name that I would like to see as a coach.
Before we get out of here, two more names that I don't think are possible, but two names that I've heard that they've done well: Matt Campbell at Iowa State, Luke Fickell at Cincinnati.
Okay.
Yeah, both of those are good names.
Let me ask this question real quick. I know we're trying to end it, but do we think that they really, because this has been posed to me, I'm getting my text messages are blowing up about this, right? Like, did this firing come with a plan? Do we really think that they have the next coach
I hope so.
lined up, or are they starting?
I don't know.
I think they.
So
do.
I mean, I don't know how you don't.
I don't. I'm praying and hoping so, Mike. But if not, it's very it's indicative of a leadership problem if we don't.
Well, I mean, so here's the thing. He had to make the decision now. So I don't necessarily fault him for not having a plan, because you want to do it before National Signing Day so you can get your staff in there and say, look, I understand what's going on, and we're going to right the ship, and we're going to bring in a new guy. Hopefully, whoever that new guy is, though, is something that they can talk to recruits about. It's like, listen, we're in talks with this guy, and this guy. Would you like to play for him? You know, we'll see. We will definitely see.
All right.
All right. Let's get out of here. We will definitely be back with you all. Wednesday is our typical show. So we'll be back on here live Wednesday at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. That's National Signing Day. So we'll have a conversation about that. So unless they make a hire in the next couple of days, that's probably going to be the next time you guys hear from us. We will probably drop some more content maybe Monday or Tuesday, just in general about some of this staff stuff, though. But we will be talking National Signing Day with you all on Wednesday. As always, make sure you're clicking like and subscribe on the YouTube channel. Hit the notification bell so you know when we've got new content dropping. We are the War Rapport on Twitter and Instagram, and we are TW Report on TikTok. We are about to get out of here. We appreciate the Auburn family for tuning in with us. We can tell you guys are super passionate about this team, and you want to see us go in the right direction the same way that we do. But until then, we will holler at you guys. War Eagle.